Hey, and welcome to Nug and Cymek review DC Universe's The New 52, where every week Nug and I review every single one of the DC titles. I'm Andrew Cymek.
I'm Nug. We're going to dive in this week on month two of all the DC new comics. So we're actually getting the next part of everything we've already reviewed. Let's start off with StormWatch, which we really enjoyed last month. Martian Manhunter and a bunch of Wildstorm characters. I loved this book.
I liked StormWatch number 1 the first week. I think number 2 is even better than number 1.
It might be. You get to meet everybody who's supposed to be on the team or becoming part of the team. The characters are super interesting. To me, I don't know a lot about the Wildstorm universe, but they've picked a lot of very interesting characters for this comic.
Yeah, and the thing I like about it is the powers are unlike any of the other superheroes in the DC universe.
And I really like that they're on a level, you get it from the book, that they're on a level above the Justice League. Like, the Justice League may tackle, they do some galactic, things. Like, some huge world events happen and the Justice League's there. But when these guys are on the scene, there's something pretty massive happening, and let's just distract the world by sending in the Justice League. Which was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely play that layer level a lot in the book. When there's a threat that's maybe like just a big monster, you send in the Justice League. Stormwatch has been there from the beginning. They introduce a character, Adam, that's very interesting. But the thing I like, I think the most about the book is even though the characters have these outlandish superpowers and maybe powers that we're not used to, they still bring in the fact that they have human emotions.
Absolutely.
Like there is a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of envy, some greed. I mean, it's a great book. I mean, if Stormwatch 1 wasn't your thing, though, I don't know if this is going to change your mind.
No, but you have an opportunity to go pick up number 1.
That's right.
Or reread number 1 and now read number 2 and put them together.
Yeah, I mean, with Stormwatch number 2, it's getting better, which is always a good sign.
It's great. Okay, up next, OMAC. Really enjoyed OMAC. I enjoyed OMAC last month, and it just continues. It's very Kirby, smashing action, lots of really fun stuff. Like the editor's note. The last issue ended with Brother I telling OMAC to go call his girlfriend, and that didn't happen. The first couple pages, that didn't happen, and then there's an editor's note. By the way, he called his girlfriend between issues. A book with a sense of humor is never a problem for this guy.
And for me, I have to agree. I mean, OMAC is one of those books that kind of exists in its own style.
Exactly.
Like all the other books, they're doing a very good job of staying in the same universe. It's the darker, edgier DC new, but OMAC is kind of, even though it's in the universe, it's kind of in its own in terms of feel.
Yeah, and it will tie in. I think Frankenstein's going to have a crossover with it, which is fitting. I think, but it's a really good book. No spoilers for this one, if I can help it, but there's a wonderful return at the very end of the book of somebody that I enjoy quite a bit as a character.
Yeah. And I think that OMAC does a great job at the throwback comics.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, if you like that old style of storytelling with the editor's notes and the narrator that's also making jokes at the same time.
For sure.
It's a great read. It's not like your everyday dark and brooding book, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all. Moving on to Red Lanterns. Last time we read Red Lanterns, we thought we might be lanterned out as the Rage Lantern, I'll say it, pissed and moaned about not having rage anymore. He lost his frown. How will he find it? This one kind of continues that.
Yeah, it does. But, having said that, now, we didn't like the first issue because we thought that the Red Lantern was all about rage and it was pontificating, as you put it.
Yep.
He does pontificate a bit like this.
Yep.
But, reading this one, maybe we were expecting the wrong kind of book out of Rage of the Red Lanterns.
Maybe, but if that's the case, then I think a lot of people were.
I mean, for sure. It's definitely not a rage-smashing book. We have him philosophizing.
Yes.
Which, if that's the book that they're trying to put out for Red Lanterns, I gotta say, I didn't mind some of the philosophizing.
Some of it was fine. He realizes he's a bit of a loner. And maybe he needs someone else. Because when you become a Red Lantern, you become basically a mindless rage zombie.
Blind with rage. So with the first issue, they've taken that blindness out, and now he's questioning if a certain rage has value over a different kind of rage. And if that's, the point of this series, I'm not saying I'm sold on it, but I'm warming up to Red Lanterns, whereas the first issue left me cold.
Right now they're kind of, they're not red so much as they are kind of an orangey, kind of amber.
The key thing is, for me, I think it's a step up.
Oh, from last week? Or from last month?
Last month, but I don't know if it's more because the writing or the style has changed,
right.
or if it's because I'm starting to see what the writer is doing in the full picture.
And that might be the case with a lot of books this week. You're getting the second part of a larger story, and I did see more that I liked in Red Lanterns than I did the first week, but I'm not sold on it just yet. Up next, Static Shock, one of our teen heroes who last issue had his arm cut off, or at least severed, and in this story called
Disarmed.
His arm's fine. So don't call your story Disarmed when he's not disarmed.
Okay, well, I mean, they do a little bit of an explanation that the blade was really, really sharp.
And somehow he didn't know he could do that, and there's a lot of text in this. There are some full pages where it's nothing but him talking to himself.
Yeah, I mean, last week we kind of said that Static Shock was the last book that we read, so that maybe it was just because we were tired of reading everything.
Yes.
Having read this, not last this week, I don't think it was the book's placement. There's nothing wrong with a book being heavy on dialogue. I mean, it is a literary material.
And there's nothing wrong with a book that is a teen hero having a whole bunch of other teens in it doing teen things. But my issue is that it's like he's fighting the Power Rangers.
We were talking with George, who runs the Silver Snail, where we tape here, and he didn't like Mr. Terrific, and we liked it because of the humor. And I'm almost thinking that maybe Static needs some of that Mr. Terrific humor.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I don't know what's missing at this point, but 2 issues in, Static is not... No. It's missing something.
Moving on. Justice League International. Issue 2. And here we are, right back in the throw of things with Giant Alien Robot and the team sort of not being together as a unit. Which we were saying last time, which was like, it's too bad they're not together as a team. But it's entertaining as hell.
Yeah.
And it's very good. This book is very good.
I think the clash of personalities on the team is where the book is going to continually shine, as long as they can get that.
You know what? I know it's 2 issues in, but if anybody from DC is watching this, if you want to do a spin-off book of just Red Rocket and August General and Iron, I think we'd both enjoy that quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, they're the highlights for me in any issue. Batman sounds like Batman in Justice League
One of the only books where he does sound like Batman.
Overall, I really liked it. Again, it's a pickup. It's a fun read. If you didn't like Justice League International #1, it's more of the same.
And it's fun.
But it's fun. It's okay to like fun books.
It's okay to know that these comic books are fun and sometimes don't reflect everything that's happening in society. Sometimes. Up next, one of our mini-series this week, the first issue of Penguin, Pain and Prejudice. Penguin, who's kind of, as an outside, I know this isn't true, but as an outsider to the Bat books, knowing the Penguin maybe from the old Adam West TV show,
right.
Penguin's kind of a joke. Trick umbrellas, bird things, monocle, wah, wah, wah. Well, guess what? I know Penguin's a badass.
I've read Penguin miniseries, pretty much all of them that have come out. There have been countless Penguin stories. I liked it. I thought that they do a really great job depicting how the Penguin has his flippers or fingers in
his beak,
in his in all sorts of different things. How he can control Gotham.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Penguin is badass, except. And spoilers, the ending when Batman shows up is absolutely brilliant because they set up the Penguin being this
huge badass.
I mean, he murders without remorse. I mean, there's a certain graphic scene in this book that's pretty horrific, but it works here where I don't think it worked for Batwing.
You're right.
Right? But we'll talk about Batwing later. But they do this great job setting Penguin up to be this ultimate evil man.
He's on top. He feels like he is on top.
And then the ending is just amazing. Brings it all crashing down.
It makes Penguin go, oh, right.
I know if you're thinking, oh, it's a Penguin book. What do I don't need to read a Penguin book. It's great.
It's
a great
really good. Up next, Hawk&Dove. 2. Hated it. Andrew?
I'm trying to find stuff that I like. I'm I'm looking at it, and I don't even know, as a new reader to Hawk&Dove, I don't even know who Hawk&Dove are, but you've added a whole bunch of characters.
Yeah, if I don't give a crap about Hawk&Dove, why do I care that Osprey got killed and now Condor and Swan are around? Throw in Seagull while you're at it, and maybe I'll care. Doubtful.
Sometimes writers do this, where they don't have a firm grasp of the key characters, so we'll add more characters.
Oh, no, but he does. This guy created them years ago, right? This is the story he's always wanted to do.
Really?
Apparently. Up next, Green Arrow. First issue was great. He had his little team in his ear. He's battling some bad guys that want to be on the internet, and continues the story.
Yeah.
It's pretty. It shows a lot of Oliver out of costume, dealing with the dual life of superhero and DC Steve Jobs.
Yeah. So what did you think?
I liked it. I liked Green Arrow. I liked the character. I like where it went. At the beginning, it kind of confused me a little bit because I had to remember what happened last month.
Right.
But once I got into it, I was like, okay, all right, I'm on board with this. And then I continued to read it. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you liked it more than I liked it. I'm not... I don't know, something's not feeling right with me about Green Arrow. Having said that, I do like the concept of this new generation of kids that feel the need to videotape everything.
Mm-hmm.
And this concept of, even in grade schools, when kids being bullied, instead of going to interrupt, kids nowadays will videotape it and then YouTube it.
Yep.
So are we basically raising a bunch of sociopaths?
Yes.
And Green Arrow doesn't shy away from that. So I kind of like where they're going with it. Maybe if they went into the actual ramifications of the action and made it more of a social commentary, like Green Arrow stories in the past.
True.
Green Arrow has been one of those comics that has never shied away from social commentary.
Well, maybe that's on its way.
And maybe it is.
They do bring up a great point in this. That if you put yourself up there on the internet, there's clearly something wrong with you. Up next, Men of War. Last issue, I loved the last issue, and I remember you had a problem with the introduction of the Super in the middle of the Men of War story, because it was going along as a war story up until that point.
Yeah.
Well, now we get to see the aftermath of that, and not to be a huge spoiler, but not a Super, as it were, but they're dealing with it here. I thought this story was just as good as last month.
I agree. Just as good. I was kind of hoping it would improve. But,
Right.
I mean, if you like the first issue, this is more of the same.
And it's very interesting.
It is. And I was saying some of the military abbreviations and some of the
really cool,
the
like the little
facts.
fact box.
Yeah, like
really
they talk
cool.
about the hypersonic bullet and how you can tell how far it's been fired depending on... I mean, just little tidbits like that. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm actually learning from a comic as well.
You can. It's possible.
So, I mean, I really enjoyed it. It's almost structured the same way where the not super appears, about the same moment in this comic as well. I'm curious to see where they're going with it. I'm really not sure. I thought I kind of knew where they were going with it with issue 1. Issue 2 is taking us in a different direction.
I'm really looking forward to seeing where it's going. I like that it looks like they've gone somewhere that they shouldn't. And the Super that showed up is the warning that, hey, maybe you ought to not be here. Yeah. And they still have to deal with the fact that someone knew where they were going, because they got attacked in the first issue. Yeah. And the Super came in and didn't do I don't know if the Super attacked so much as prevented a whole lot of stuff from going down.
I like the authenticness of the military voice.
All right, here we go. Batwing didn't do it for me last month. Didn't do it for Andrew last month. Gotta say, while more interesting this month, the problem sometimes I have with comics is that, you know what, they're not realistic. But here I am the whole time dealing with it. When we last left Batwing, he had a machete sticking out of his chest.
In the middle of his chest.
And then Buddy, who patches him up, his Alfred, says, "Oh man, good thing that missed every major everything and only sort of punctured your lung and you're fine."
Which is fine in comics that aren't trying to depict such a realistic setting. I mean, I was telling Nug, do you know how easy it is for people to die?
Yes, I know how easy it is for people to die.
Some people say, "Oh, just shoot him in the leg." You get shot in the leg, it hits the wrong artery, you're done.
Some people out there can be killed by a single peanut.
So it's a miracle that Batwing survived this. I think it drew an unintentional laugh from the two of us.
Unintentional.
But the other thing is, he's fine in 2 weeks.
Oh, good.
He's okay.
I hope that happens when I get stabbed in the chest, then I'm okay in 2 weeks.
I liked, and to be fair, I liked it better than issue 1.
Yeah.
Not enough to recommend the book. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, machete to the heart. I was like, this is the shortest comic run ever. But
to be continued?
Yeah.
Yes, sadly. Up next, our second miniseries of the week, Huntress. Exciting because there's been some hints that this will tie into not only Mr. Terrific and not only Birds of Prey, but also the upcoming Earth 2 Justice Society book. And here's the Huntress.
I hope it ties into that last one.
I do too. So here's the Huntress. For sure her name's Helena. We see once on a ID that it's Bertinelli.
On her passport, it's Bertinelli.
But that could be fake.
Right.
So anyway, we're hoping for some Earth 2 parenting of this character. She kicks a lot of ass in this book. So I'll say this to our female readers out there. If you were like, Catwoman, here's one where the girl just kicks major ass and doesn't get to bang anybody Bat-related.
It's a very strong comic. The art's beautiful. I think it's a pickup. If you're a Bat fan and like the Bat women kicking ass, this is another one.
And as a non-Bat person, I enjoyed the book. But I do need to know how many Bat books are necessary.
Oh, well, you're asking the wrong question.
I know, I'm asking the wrong thing for you. But how many female Bat-related persons all do the same thing? Batwoman kicks ass, Batgirl kicks ass, Catwoman kicks ass, now Helena kicks ass as Huntress. I'm sorry,
you make a good point.
And there's Stephanie who's still around, and Black Bat who's still around, and there's
a lot of soldiers for Grant Morrison to play with when Leviathan strikes.
Well, I can't wait for Grant to write that book in 2000 and never. But right now, he's concentrating on Superman and Action Comics and possibly the multiversity thing.
You make a good point, but having said all that, is it a good book?
It's an excellent book.
There you go.
Moving on. Animal Man, pick of the week. The last time we reviewed it, nothing makes me happier to say this book is awesome. It's awesome.
I agree. Last month, Animal Man was Nug's pick of the week, and Swamp Thing was my pick of the week. Animal Man #2 is amazing.
It's really, really interesting. It's not just well written, but the story. It's freaky and it gets you hooked. You really want to know what's happening.
Yeah, it's very rare for you to read something and be like, I'm actually creeped out and a little disturbed by this.
But I have to keep going.
But you have to keep going. And you're almost like you're following Animal Man on this journey with his kid as she's developing stronger powers than him. And it's terrifying.
Of course it is.
And the fact that Lemaire can put that in a reader in just such a simple premise, but it's great.
It's so great. And the fear, the freakishness, the terror is reflected in Buddy's wife, who's like, I don't know what's going on. You sort of know what's going on. Fix this. Yeah. You deal with this because this is crazy.
It's always great when you're really impressed with the first issue of a book, and then the second issue comes out, and you're like, yes.
Yeah.
This is a series to watch and to pick up.
And now we move on to Swamp Thing. Here's what I really enjoy. Animal Man, the connection to the red is so strong, and that's the animals, the biogenic field or whatever, the animals on the planet. This is all about the green. the vegetation on the planet, the plant life, and they mention the red. And I know there's going to be a crossover at some point between two of the best books DC has going right now.
They might be the two best books.
They're so good.
And, a lot of times, you'll say, well, you have to buy this book and buy this book to enjoy the story. You don't have to buy both Animal Man and Swamp Thing, but you should.
Recommended that you pick them both up because they complement each other so well. And not only that, but the opening of this book, it's so... The end of the last book where Alec Holland is not Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
And Swamp Thing shows up to talk to Alec Holland and go, look, you're not Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Here's the scoop. And lays down what's going on. A little confusing at first, but once you get through it, you're like, I get this. And the eureka moment you have in your own head is so enjoyable that you're like, oh, I'm pretty smart, I figured this out.
And this is an example of when a lot of writing and a lot of content is okay. Because with issue 1 and even the beginning of issue 2, you care about Alec Holland.
Yeah.
And the fact you want to know more about the Swamp Thing because it enticed you in the first issue. I highly recommend Swamp Thing number 2.
So great.
Animal Man, Swamp Thing, it's a 1-2 punch. Pick them up.
All right, moving on. Detective Comics featuring, what's his name? Batman in Detective Comics. Last issue, spoilers for those of you who haven't read it, ended with the Joker's face hanging on some nails and not being on his person anymore. So the doll maker is this character?
Doll maker.
Freaky. Bruce deals with a lot of Bruce stuff this issue, and does a little bit of ass kicking as Batman.
I think, like in Detective number 1, the highlight was that ending page for me. I thought that the voice of Batman was a little cheesy.
Yep.
His interior thoughts were like, bad Frank Miller, to be completely honest. Detective number 2, I believe, is actually a step up, which is good. Partly because we don't have those thought boxes nearly as much as in the first issue. It's more dialogue and talking. I enjoyed the second issue. There's another splash page at the end, so I'm a little worried that at the last page of every Detective comic to come out is going to have a big shocker, which I don't think is needed, but again, I want to see where the book is going.
And if I may, as a non-Bat fan reading this, all I saw was retreads of, oh look, another hot blonde villain. Oh look, another badass with a hot blonde villain sidekick.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's recycled, and, as I say, every Bat issue, oh, there's a new person involved, a new person introduced, it's that guy.
And here's a moment where I hate to agree with you, but one of the problems with having so many Bat books, and one of the problems of reading all those Bat books, is many of the ideas seem to be recycled, and when it's done right, like in Snyder's Batman, it just sets the bar so high that the other books aren't really going to catch up to it. And maybe that's why, do we need that many Bat books? Shouldn't we just focus on the select few?
Yes.
That's a question that no one really has the answer to.
I do. The answer's yes. All right, finally, the last book of the week, Action Comics number 2. Action Comics, which I enjoyed. If I recall my review from last month, I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. As you're not a Superman fan.
I'm not a Superman fan, but I enjoyed it. I wanted to see more of this Superman learning what life was like. And if I recall, he had a train. He was stopped by a train.
Right.
And now he's captured by Luthor and being experimented on.
Yeah.
A few names pop up in this book that really piqued my interest. John Henry Irons is there. John Corbin, who is on the way to becoming Metallo. That kind of stuff really piques my interest. And the last page reveal, even though it's not really a reveal,
Right.
is pretty cool.
It's a great book. Like it's exciting. I think I like this book a lot more because, I hate to say it, but Superman's not in it that much. He's in it, but Luthor's great. You know what we think about Grant Morrison's Luthor.
I love
Luthor's
Luthor.
amazing.
Luthor's the greatest. I really enjoyed the moment with Superman where Lex is grilling him and saying, "You're shape-shifting aliens from another planet." And I'm reading this going, why does he think he's a shapeshifter? And then they bring in, like, the corpse of a goat they found next to his spaceship and went, "Isn't this one of yours?" And he cracks up. Superman literally cracks up.
Grant's making Superman, I guess, accessible, you know?
He's making him interesting for me.
Yeah, I mean, this is from a non-Superman fan. He's enjoying the book.
I'm enjoying it because it's interesting, because it's not just a Boy Scout flying around and doing right and saluting.
And I miss my Boy Scout. But
No.
that's me. But as a book, it's a great book. Grant, again, hits out of the park, and I'm just going to go home now and reread All-Star Superman.
Now it's time for Red Tornado Watch. There is no Red Tornado in this week's books. It's time to look at our books of the week. Andrew, we're going to pick 6. Everybody picks 5. I'm going to pick Action as one of mine.
Yep, top 6.
For sure, Swamp Thing and Animal Man. Those are my picks of the week for sure. Man of War I enjoyed. And not Hawk and Dove. OMAC and StormWatch. There you go. What did I get? 7? Is that 6?
No, you got 6, but I'm not going to put Men of War in my top 6.
Okay.
I'm going to put Justice League International.
You know what? That's a close one. If I could pick 7, I would pick that.
I'm not going to put Men of War in. Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. I mean, Huntress and Penguin are very good books.
They're so
though.
good.
So I kind of, if you're a Bat fan, I would pick them up maybe before Stormwatch and, Justice League International. But I think we're in agreement here.
Oh, boy.
Swamp Thing and Animal Man.
These are so good.
Once again, they shine. Best books of the week. So thanks again for joining us, and thanks for the Silver Snail for letting us do this.
And thanks for watching, and recommend this to other people so they can suffer through these books like we do. And I say that with love. We suffer for you guys. Oh, the cops are here.